If you ask me, Alvin Kamara is doing the right thing fighting for more when it comes to his contract. We get all of that and a little bit of land yap for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert, a credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a senior writer and reporter over at Saints News Network. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, we're going to dive into the injury impact of tight end Juwan Johnson, why the team needs a solution at tight end. Another clutch drive from Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints offense wraps up a mandatory minicamp day 3 and all of mandatory minicamps. And to kick us all off, I'm going to tell you why I believe that Alvin Kamara is doing the right thing. I'm going to take the unpopular opinion here, and I'm going to tell you why I think he's doing the right thing, looking for more in his current deal, even though more, quote unquote, could mean a lot of things. We appreciate you very much. As always, make it Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day. And for being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed at Game Time. I believe that Alvin Kamara is doing the right thing right now by calling attention, making a statement about the fact that he's still looking for an extension on his current deal. In case you missed it, New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara was present on Thursday, the final day of minicamps, was there for the walkthrough, and then after the walkthrough was not out on the field. Now, I saw him at the facility. He was at the facility when we showed up for practice. I don't know if he left at some point during practice or anything like that, but it seems that he didn't just like walk off and dip entirely. He was still at the facility, at least when we got there. And the reason for all of this comes down to what many have reported is a contract conversation. Apparently, the New Orleans Saints and Alvin Kamara have been looking at contract restructures for the past couple of months. They have not made any restructures or any type of adjustments to his contract at all, which likely means that Alvin Kamara and his representation are looking for additional guarantees, additional years, additional money on his contract before they go into this 2024 season. Let me tell you why I think that's the right thing for Alvin Kamara. It's the right thing by Alvin Kamara's representation. And honestly, it's the right thing for the New Orleans Saints as well. Alvin Kamara this year is due just over $10 million when it comes to his base salary. All right. A lot of other stuff is included, prorated signing bonuses, workout bonuses, all this other stuff. But his base salary right now is $10.2 million. I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that this is about 2024. I think this is about Alvin Kamara's future. If you look at his contract for next season, when it comes down to how much is guaranteed on his deal, yeah, he's got a $22.4 million base salary, but it's a big old goose egg when it comes to how much of that is guaranteed. $0 are currently guaranteed. Now, again, he's got some pro rates and things like that that will still add to his cap hit, all these other pieces, but that's all money that's already been paid out and is simply just still being accounted for when it comes to the books of an NFL salary cap. So for me, when I look at this, I think this kind of standoff between Alvin Kamara and the New Orleans Saints, contractual standoff, is really more about length of contract and guaranteed money than it is about how much money he's making per year. Look across the country. Guy that plays for the team that the New Orleans Saints will have joint practices against during training camp, Christian McCaffrey. Got a contract extension, got a little bit of money to, jump him up, leap him up to the top of the books when it came to APY. But what really matters is how much of that money is guaranteed. You can be a player that's making $50 million per year, but if $10 million of that is guaranteed, you're not making that money. It doesn't matter what your APY is. It doesn't matter what your average per year value is. None of that matters. All that matters is what's guaranteed and how many years you have those guarantees, because what that does is that it guarantees your future. It guarantees a commitment from the team to you as a player, and it guarantees your commitment to that team by accepting those guarantees and absolutely saying that you are going to be there. That you're signing that contract, you accept these guarantees, you're committed to me for 3 years, I'm committed to you for 3 years. When it's a 4-year deal and there's 3 years guaranteed, it's a 3-year deal. It's not actually a 4-year deal. So I think that like those are the things that are really most important. And I think that if you're the New Orleans Saints, tacking 2 more years on Alvin Kamara's deal, potentially altering where his cap hit for this season hits, which means you could save money this year. You could alter where his cap hits next year, which will also save you a ton of money next year with an over $20 million base salary that, of course, needs to be knocked down and will be knocked down if they get this deal done, which I very much hope that they get this deal. Not that I hope that they get it done, but this would be weird, right? Like, this isn't a big contract negotiation. This isn't somebody asking for a brand new deal. This isn't somebody asking to reset the market. This is somebody asking to be committed to for more than a season. And in an offseason where Tyrann Mathieu and Demario Davis were just given the same grace. It's not that hard. In my opinion, if the New Orleans Saints and Marshon Lattimore can't come to an agreement when it comes to this deal, it's a failure of the organization. It's not a failure of Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is doing exactly what he should be doing. He's going to be a 29-year-old running back. He should not be out there running, cutting, and eventually getting hit without some commitment in terms of what his future is. And if the team isn't willing to give him that commitment, they need to be willing to cut bait now. Also, it's worth mentioning that these contract negotiations, these contract conversations have been going on for months. And so I don't understand why missing 1 of 3 minicamp practices is more important and is being highlighted more than attending 2 of 3 in that same situation. I think Alvin Kamara is doing the right thing. I'm on the player side when it comes to this one, for sure. This should not be a hard decision. It's going to be hard to figure out the numbers, the accounting, all those things are going to be hard. That stuff is going to take time. But when it comes down to a guy that has openly said over and over again that he wants to be a lifer and he wants to finish his career here in New Orleans, when it comes to a guy that everybody on the coaching staff has already said is going to be a huge part of their plan in 2024, when it comes to the guy that the offensive coordinator says was a big reason, one of the big reasons that he decided to come to this team, you give him a 2-year contract extension. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I think Alvin Kamara is doing the right thing here by making the statement and will eventually, hopefully, lead to this deal getting done. Coming up next, boy, did Derek Carr do it again. We got that coming up for you as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. If you're in Boston or you're in Dallas, you got potentially only one more chance to attend a NBA Finals game. And hopefully you're where the next game is because it might be the last one. And Game Time will help you get there. Folks use Game Time all the time to purchase last-minute tickets. And especially right now with all their last-minute deals, folks save up to 60% by buying tickets last minute to their favorite sporting events, but they also help out with concerts, comedy, theater, and much more. Plus, there's value deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, so everything is transparent and allows you to be able to actually see your view from the seats that you're about to purchase before you purchase them, so nothing takes you by surprise. You get to take all the guesswork out of buying tickets, hopefully for your final chance at the NBA Finals this season by buying those tickets over on Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download and create an account and use that code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. Derek Carr done it again in the clutch, leading another big touchdown drive in an end of game situation this time. I'll tell you all about that, as well as, of course, why the New Orleans Saints should be looking for and figuring out what their answer is going to be at tight end, especially with Juwan Johnson about to undergo surgery next week. We appreciate you very much for being here for another episode. We got another quick episode for you here, just giving you the biggest 3 kind of highlights of minicamp as minicamp wraps up. But make sure you come back tomorrow too. We are your team every day. Tomorrow's episode, I'm going to dig into all of the highlights from minicamps. We're going to go into who the players that impressed the most were over the course of these 3 days. Leading off, of course, with Chris Olave, who is going to be a star in 2024. One of the other guys that has impressed, though, has been Derek Carr, New Orleans Saints quarterback, just getting into this new system and kind of seeing him already be able to orchestrate all of the motion, all the patterns, all the play action, the rollouts, the waggles, all these other things that they've now all of a sudden introduced in this offense. Just seems to be navigating it very comfortably. And in case you missed it, in Wednesday's minicamp practice, which was the second minicamp practice, the Saints kind of did this end of the first half simulation where the offense was down 28-23, had to march down the field and try to take the lead and potentially even extend the lead up to 3 points. They were able to do that. They marched down. Derek Carr went 5 of 5 on a touchdown drive and then completed another pass for a 2-point conversion that then put them up 31-28. Today, the way that they operated was a minute and 15 seconds left on the clock, down 21-27, and they needed to drive 75 yards from the, no, sorry, they started actually at the 45, I believe. So they needed to drive a little bit over midfield in order to get in range to get a touchdown there. So, and it was the other 40, like the your own 45, right? So you got the longer side of the field to go there. And he came out strong, big time completion over in the intermediate area to start it off. Then a nice couple of passes over to the sideline to get a completion, get out of bounds. Marshon Lattimore made a great break on one ball that was going to Chris Olave on a third down with 50 seconds left and was able to knock the ball away from behind Chris Olave, both of them working back towards the quarterback. Really, really nice play there by Marshon Lattimore, who had a fantastic interception in yesterday's practice. Then on a 4th and long, they pick it up between Derek Carr and Cedric Wilson, who has absolutely been one of my stars of minicamp so far. He's looked really, really good and has been playing all over the place. Then they had to rush up and spike. And here was where things got a little bit interesting. When they went to spike, there was a false start or maybe somebody not set, maybe a legal procedure, something like that. But they called a penalty, which then included a 10-second runoff. So it went from being like a 1st and long from a with 31 seconds left, or a 1st and 10 with 31 seconds left, to a 1st and like 15 or 20 with 21 seconds left. And couple of passes, and then all of a sudden, on a 4th down with 4 seconds left, Derek Carr buys some time, finds Chris Olave in the back of the end zone, who gets his toe drag swag on, catches the pass, gets 2 feet in. Marshon Lattimore is like, no, he was out of bounds. Everybody else is like, nah, fam, that was in. Chris Olave is running around doing his run and his celebration, all the other stuff. And it's effectively a game-tying touchdown. And then the extra point was good by Blake Grupe and would have led to a 28-27 victory on a 1 minute and 15 second drive. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ross, who cares? This is in training camp, or this is in mini camp. This isn't an actual game. I know. But you got to practice it somewhere. You got to practice it sometime. And you better be good at it when you practice it. And the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr, we're very good at it when they practiced it. So 2 days in a row now, we've seen sort of the clutch stuff come out for Derek Carr and for the New Orleans Saints. Just to give like a little bit of a comparison here, Jake Haener got the same opportunity and 4 and out. Incomplete screen that got blown up, completed a pass to Jordan Mims for a little bit of a gain, and then 2 incomplete passes after that, including a pass breakup by DeMarco Jackson, who continues to find ways to impress in the second level, that led to a 4 and out and turnover on downs. So there you go. I mean, it can go one way or another, right? Do they both mean nothing, or do they both mean something? Finally, I want to take a look at how the Saints need to find their answer at tight end. Juwan Johnson undergoing foot surgery. He's expected to be ready to go at the beginning of the season. I think the thing that's most important in terms of finding their answer is that if they're going to continue to believe that their answer is Juwan Johnson, which I do think is worth the faith from the organization, is that they've got to be able to bridge the gap from the success that he had at the end of last year into the beginning of this year. We were having a very similar conversation last season because we were talking about the strong finish in 2022 that he had and how to bridge that gap and get it going in 2023. And they struggled to be able to do that. And a big part of that was that the offensive line was putrid. And so you were constantly having tight ends stay in to chip and do all these other things. He was having to be a blocker. He was having to be an offensive lineman, basically. And so didn't really get an opportunity to get running off the ground, then got injured. And then Derek Carr had his injuries. And then once everything kind of settled in over the course of the last 7 games, he, like much of the offense, really took off over the course of the last 4 games in particular. 3 of his 4 touchdowns in 2023 were in the last 3 games. 219 of his 368 yards were of his 268. Or sorry, let me try that again. 219 of his 368 receiving yards from 2024 all came in the last 4 games of the season. 4 games of the season. So I think you've got to be able to bridge that gap from the end of 2023 to the beginning of 2024. But now you got a little bit of a challenge here because he's going to miss some time. And he might miss a little bit of training camp, might be ready to go during training camp. Belief seems to be that he'll be ready to go for the beginning of the season. I've heard even more optimistic timelines, but we'll see. You never really know. The surgery isn't until next week. And so, like if the surgery, something goes wrong in the surgery or the body doesn't take the surgery or whatever it might be, that things obviously get a lot more complicated. So we're not going to deal in timelines here. But if the Saints want to make sure that they're getting the best from their position, being smart about Juwan Johnson and also being smart in the stead of Juwan Johnson, Sal Cannella, the star UFL now tight end, finished and completed his workout with the team after practice on Thursday. We got 5 weeks, 6 weeks until training camp begins. Let's see if he ends up getting brought in to help them out until Juwan is ready. And then, of course, there's always a chance that you look to bring Jimmy Graham back. Although if I'm Jimmy Graham, I'm not jumping on to any team until late in training camp. I ain't trying to do all that work. I'll show up late at training camp, utilize me in the red zone. Let's get it. Like, that's the way that I'm doing it. But that's just me. All right, y'all. We'll be back with you with another episode tomorrow. Who shined throughout mini camps? Chris Olave, definitely one of them. Derek Carr, another. And maybe some unexpected guys, young guys that also shined all throughout mini camps as well. We appreciate you very much. As always, make it Locked On Saints a part of your day, part of your routine for saying yes to me and the show. As always, if you see me, please say hi. And if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you're living. Let me know how you're momming them. I trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.